Hello, this is Michael here. Just before we start the video, I just want to say it's going to be quite choppy. There's a lot of quick cuts where I had to edit out pauses and stuttering. That's because I'm just not very good at this. I'm new. So hopefully future videos it shouldn't be as bad, especially as this is a lot of me just trying to remember things to bring up. In future videos it's going to be as I make things. It should be a lot easier for me to talk about what I'm doing. So that's all, and hope you enjoy. Hello, and welcome to the first devlog of this currently untitled dungeon management game. In this first video, I'm just going to go over where I am with the project at the moment, and my current plans for it in the future. To give a quick overview of the plans, if you haven't seen my intro video, I'll link it in the description, but just to give a brief summary, I've tried making games in the past but never successfully finished. So this is going to be my attempt at releasing a game finally. Now this project file is pretty early on. I made it around about 2 weeks ago, but that's not been 2 weeks of serious development time. So we're still pretty early on, so you'll get to see most of it. If people would like to get a deeper look into the features that I've already implemented, I'll be happy to show those in future videos. But for now, I'm just going to give a surface level of how they work. So as you can probably tell from the lack of a name, this is going to be a dungeon management game. And what that means to me, it may mean something else to you, but for me that means it's going to be a game in similar type to Cities Skylines or Rollercoaster Tycoon, Planet Coaster, that sort of thing. But rather than being in a modern setting, it's going to be in a fantasy setting, and you'll be constructing and maintaining your own dungeon. Now, I have not ironed out the specifics of the game. I have the premise of some of the core features in mind, and my plan is to implement them and see how that goes and use that to really refine what I want the game itself to be. That also includes the art style. I think it's going to be probably low poly / pixel art maybe. Once again, haven't decided, so we'll see how that goes. Now, as mentioned in my intro video, I'm still a novice when it comes to game development, so I don't necessarily know the best practices, but I'm working on what I've tried to do in the past, and I've done lots of different methods, be that plan out the whole thing in advance, do it all on the fly, but nothing has especially stood out to me as the best way to do it. So the way I'm going to be doing this project is to start with, I'm going to be implementing some core features that I have in mind, and then I will create more detailed plans off of those. Maybe not for the whole project, but it'll be sort of a more detailed look at the implementation of specific features that I would like to do. Now that should be it for the overview of my plans, so let's get into the specifics of the project itself. As you can see, I'm currently using Unity. This is 2021.3.5 F1, and I'm using the data-oriented technology stack with the hybrid renderer and the entity component system. Now, it's probably not the best idea to try and have my first game be based on a experimental system, but I think I should be able to make it work for what I'm planning on to do. I don't plan on doing anything too complex with the entities themselves. I'm mostly just using it as a way to have large amounts of entities without reducing the performance too much. So as you can see here, this is where the dungeon gets created. I've currently got it set to 500 by 500, each unit being 1 meter squared. This means there are 250,000 entities. There's probably a much better way this sort of thing can be implemented, but this works well for me at the moment and it runs alright. So I'm going to stick with this. Now if we hit play, it will take a moment to load. It'll be worse because oh no, that actually came up pretty quickly. But as you can see, I'm running about 100 frames per second at the moment. We'll see how that changes when development continues. It's quite unstable at the moment. That is probably due to recording. Once again, we'll have to see as development continues. Now, I have a basic camera controller. Hold right click, can move around, hold middle mouse button, orbit specific tile, and then the scroll wheel scrolls in and out. Now, if I unhide this, that's what I've got to show where the grid ends at the moment, just to make it cleaner. And then I was planning on not using the dungeon overlay and just having it like this, nice and clean. That might be a toggle option, we'll see. But for now, I have this 3x3 grid that highlights the tiles around the cursor, just so you can see what tiles you've got specifically. Now, to set tiles, we have to go into this dungeon controller. As you can see, everything is quite messy. I will be tidying this up later. I have a list of tile prefabs. These are the different types of tiles you can place. Then if we come down here, we can set the tile index, that's the current selected tile, to 2. That will pick the cube, as this test prefab is just a random entity, it's not properly sized or anything. Then we come in here and place tiles. As you can see though, they are on this 0 level. The intended effect is if I come over and do depth of 1 and then place, we'll place it 1 unit down. Once again, the design of the project is in flux, so things will change. At the moment, everything's 1 meter by 1 meter, but I may change that to be 2 by 2 or something. That way, when placing one tile, it gets you to a depth that fits with a room or a corridor. Because at the moment, everything would have to be too deep to really fit. And that it's quite hard to see. So either I'll change the sizing or work on the camera controller, something along those lines. But we'll see. Something else I have implemented is I can come into selection type and change that from single to box. And then when we click left mouse button and drag, it creates this rectangle. And when you release, it places all those tiles. Come in here and change the depth and the tile index, and then if we do that again, it doesn't currently render on higher depths. That's an easy fix though. You can see it places these tiles down. So that basically covers everything that's currently implemented. The next order of business, as you can probably guess, is to connect the adjacent tiles of different heights. I have a plan of how I'm going to do that, but we will go over that in the next video. Okay, so that will be where we end this video. I'm looking forward to getting back to development, as I've spent the last few days working on getting this channel set up and everything. So I'm definitely eager to start working on this again. But thank you very much for watching. I'd appreciate it if you'd leave a like, subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment on suggestions, either for the game itself or ways you'd prefer these videos to play out. The future ones will probably be more chaotic, as they'll be recorded as I develop rather than a big overview like this. If you'd like to show more support than just liking and commenting, I do have a Patreon, which will be linked in the description. So that about does it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.